Well, good morning, folks, and welcome to the Banana Republic of America. How are you all today? Probably pissed off. Probably wondering what in the world is going to happen next. I put up one yesterday. This is going up on both Integrative Preparedness and American Reversion because everybody cares about this. We're going to be coming at it slightly different later on, but this is just kind of a common message. Everybody knows what's going on. I put up one last night, I guess it was, with the flag upside down. America in distress. America's been in distress for a long time. Yesterday was just the final indication that things have changed and that is beyond coming back. There is no coming back from this. It has to do with what way forward we're going to do. So I said America is over. That's true. By that I mean the old America is over. Now we have to look at a new America. What is that new America going to be? Our founders created a new America, and they gave us an excellent blueprint. Many of you who are with us on Patreon know that I already put up Max McLean's reading of the Declaration of Independence on both Patreon channels. If you're not with us on Patreon, well, shame on you. You ought to be, but you can find it for yourself on YouTube. Just look up Declaration of Independence by Max McLean. One of my ancestors was a signer of that document. Arthur Middleton. I mentioned him in some of my books. We're going to be going down there and visiting Middleton Place this summer. But what comes next? I want to read to you, and there is something that comes next, and it's important. Now, we're going to be circumspect about what we say about that, but I want to read a section from my second book, The Revival. This is an old copy. That's why it's got the not for resale. It's one of an old proof copy because I don't bend up the new books that I keep in stock to read out of, and so I read out of these. But this is from the second book of the Stonemont series. I'm going to read. I won't go into a lot of detail where it is. It's for those of you who are Stonemonters, have read the books, understand. The setting is Jim Wyatt has stood up to give a talk at the Thanksgiving celebration in the Great Hall at Stonemont. He says, it begins, he had taken a moment to scan the hall, looking at the faces turned toward him and thinking of what each of them had gone through in the preceding months, then began. I was reading through some of our old family history today, and I came across a passage describing one of our branches. Actually, I wrote this from a journal of my own family, so this part right here is from one of my ancestors. Describing one of our branches who came from Switzerland and settled in Virginia during the early 1700s. I think you will see the relevance. He had to put his glasses on and began to read. At that time, this section was a wilderness. Deer roamed through the forests, and streams abounded in fish, ducks, and geese. Wild and dangerous beasts were plentiful. This is quoting what one of my ancestors wrote in his journal. They were schooled in the hardships of pioneer times. They felled the giant oak and erected their log cabin in the wild woodlands. They preferred such environment in a land dedicated to religious and political freedom rather than suffer persecution in their native land. He had paused, taken off his glasses, and surveyed the silent faces looking back at him. We are in a new wilderness, and dangerous beasts are again plentiful, though most of them are two-legged. We are becoming schooled in a new kind of pioneer life. We felled the trees to build our cabins, but more than any of that, we can see the greatest parallel in their preference to live their lives in a land dedicated to religious and political freedom rather than suffering under persecution in what their native countries had become. The hall remained quiet, and he continued. Many of us have said that the country we grew up in had ceased to exist long before the collapse. The America that valued liberty, virtue, morality, hard work, and self-reliance had devolved into a socialist state of coddled, dependent, incompetent, politically correct crybabies who were offended by anything with which they disagreed, and who, by their sheer numbers and political influence, were able to stifle and control the producing class which had done most of the work to support them, consequently driving our once great country into a chaotic decline. He had paused for a moment, noting the many who nodded in affirmation of what he had said. The collapse returned us to a reset point. I wrote this years before they started talking about a reset. A point from which it may be possible to rebuild the America we once knew. Whether we are able to do this will depend on a number of things, some of which will be beyond our control. But we must concentrate on and maximize those areas over which we do have control. We must build the future we want our children to live in. Patrick Henry said that virtue, morality, and religion were the great pillars of government and were the armor that made our country invisible in its early days. John Adams said that the U.S. Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people, and that it was wholly inadequate for the government of any other. There can be no argument that those pillars cracked and crumbled in later years, or that the moral and religious underpinnings of our country dissolved in a culture increasingly consumed with self and celebrity worship. As Abraham Lincoln, Douglas MacArthur, and many others warned us, the nation which could not be defeated from without was eventually defeated from within. He had paused again, knowing that what he was about to say was perhaps the most important thing he had said at Stonemont, perhaps the most important thing he would ever say. With this in mind, and in the belief that the country we grew up in no longer exists, I hereby dedicate and consecrate this Thanksgiving and all subsequent Thanksgivings to God, who blessed the efforts of America's original founders and who we now ask to bless our own. I further declare Stonemont from this time forward to be autonomous, independent, and sovereign, apart from all others, subordinate to none, subject only to God and God's laws as we feel them written in our hearts. What's going to happen to our country is yet to be seen. There is no going back to where it was before, now that criminal law has been brought in to persecute political foes. That's the Rubicon that has been crossed. There is no going back. What we should do about this, there are things to do. Tomorrow, I'm going to put up, I might do it later today, we'll see. I have a lot to do today, and this thing has given me more to do. I'll be putting up separate videos on integrative preparedness and on American reversion. There are things to be done. There are different things. Depending on what your strengths are, depending on what your political bent is, or how deeply you get involved in that. There are a lot of things to be done. But make no mistake, the struggle is real. The struggle is here. Many will choose not to be a part of it. There have always been those. There have always been those who want to wash their hands of the situation, shake it off, and go hide. Interestingly, many of those, after something has been won, come back and act like super patriots. This is a new chapter in the history, in the ongoing process. This is the end of one book. This is the end of the old America. The America that once was is no longer. This is the beginning of a new America, whatever we make of it. If you remember what I said in here, we must build the future we want our children to live in. That's it. One of the things you can do is build your own stone mont. There it is, folks. There it is. The blueprint, the complete blueprint to establishing your independence from a corrupt, collapsing system. It's the reversion, the revival, the renewal, and appeal to heaven, the blessings of freedom, and the latest one, hostages to fortune. You can see a little bit of the message of America in each one of those titles. These are available, as they always have been, on Amazon. The link is down below. And they are now available, and you've always been, people have been able to get them from me autographed by mailing me an order. But now they're available on our new website, stonemont.us. If you don't know what Stonemont is, you want to. You want to become a part of the Stonemont world, because it's going to tell you exactly where you go from here. So now all of my books are available on the website, stonemont.us, not stonemont.com. stonemont.us. You can order right on there. It gets to me. We've sold out of these, the entire series that I had here. We've sold out of them. And I put in a new order. Amazon says they're going to get them to me on the 9th. That's what happens. If you, well, doesn't matter. But they'll get them to me on the 9th, maybe before. As soon as I get them, I'll send them out. And we have just gotten so many orders in since we sold out, and since I put in that order, I'm ordering another big load. It's a pleasure to do it. That website's just getting blown out, and these things are selling out. So now you can do it. You can order, and the website is down below. You just click to it. You can order all the books. There's a place for you to put over there if you want me to autograph them. You know, what you want me to say and all that. If you get them from me in that way, I throw in the notebook out of the Stonemont notebook, and maybe I should read. I'm going to read just to close this out what this says. What is Stonemont? For those of you who don't know, it says Stonemont is a world apart from the collapsing world surrounding it and the crumbling society that has devolved to the point where celebrity is valued over ability, corruption is tolerated while character is attacked, and death is promoted over life. At Stonemont, a literary, virtual, and real-world community, the foundation of faith, family, and friends, supports the ideals on which our country was based but from which it has strayed. Stonemonters share those values and find within the pages of the Stonemont series a world they prefer to the decadent and crumbling world around them. It is a world of personal responsibility, worship of God, dedication to family, contribution to community, compassion for and assistance to others, and a celebration of the human spirit. There you have it. Anybody that orders the whole set from me directly, I throw one of these in for free. It's a new world, folks. It's a new America. What are we going to make? Oh, yeah. You want to see this? Yeah. Stonemont t-shirts coming back. We'll have them back out here. Stonemont, where life is good. It's a new world. It's going to be what we make of it. Start thinking about it. What are you willing to do to make it right? I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.